travelling car with ixm.co.uk, where cars go faster.
In this week's packed show, we've got flying moggies, a Clio on steroids, superbiking for children, best buys for first-time drivers, and the launch of a new ice cream van. Cool.
Now, if I say to you Morris Minor, who would you picture at the wheel? A district nurse?
Calm down, young man, or I'll have to sedate you.
A vicar?
Bless you, my son.
It's a car that speaks of a bygone era. It says life in the slow lane, at least until now. Well, I've driven all kinds of souped-up cars over the years, but what an idea. A Morris Minor, the most quintessentially British and mundane of all cars, normally about 40 horsepower, and to stick an engine in that's 4 times the power. I have to say, though, you'd think this thing would go like a rocket ship. It would be virtually uncontrollable. It isn't. The power is quite usable. It makes a lovely exhaust note. I really do like the sound, and it's slightly reminiscent of the original exhaust note, but in this case, it's just an awful lot more meaty. JLH Morris Minors from Warwickshire call this their kit for the millennium. In tune with the British heritage, these revitalised moggies house Rover engines, alongside new handling and braking systems. The 160 horsepower K-Series engine certainly gives this car a bit of a kick. It picks up and goes, it uses all the revs in the rev range, and I have to say the gear shift is nice and crisp as well. It's quite fun, this car. It combines all the best elements of the original Morris Minor, like the indicator with the little green light on the end, and the strange switches for the lights and for the starter motor. There's air conditioning, never part of the original specification, and although the cabin retains its sparseness, it's been spruced up to give it a more modern feel. You've got a nice mixture of the old and the new. The suspension has a number of different settings. You can have it quite soft for normal road use, or you can stiffen it right up if, perish the thought, you fancied taking on a track day. It's kind of infectious, actually, once you get used to the idea that you can go quick in a thing that looks like some old panel beater's wagon. It really is quite special. Hang on a second. This is a Morris Minor I'm talking about. Morris first showed their new baby to the public at Earl's Court Motor Show in 1948. And if you think delivery times are bad now, some manufacturers were quoting 3 years then. Morris obviously thought their new car was destined to go far. And to prove it, they drove it non-stop for 10 days, the equivalent of halfway round the world.
Even when the darkest clouds are in the sky, you mustn't sigh and you mustn't cry. Spread a little happiness as you go by. Please try.
Well, we really are stepping back in time with this old Morris Minor original completely. Only 51,000 miles on the clock.
Spread a little happiness as you go by.
It's incredible to think how far we've come in motoring technology. Whoa, no sophistication, no aircon, no power. The Morris Minor is a car you just love to love. I mean, look at it. It's got this big, happy, smiling face, 2 round eyes, and of course, you must have your AA badge. You don't see those much anymore, do you? I also love the wood. They look like Elizabethan thatched cottage on wheels. Now, I know it's a bit pathetic. We've driven both cars, but we've got to put them to the test side by side, haven't we? This one over here, you can probably measure on a stopwatch. This one, I think you'll probably need a calendar. So there you have it. A popular classic which was past its sell-by date has been given a whole new lease of life. And for those of you who wish to keep the faith, I'm glad to report that the Moggy is in the rudest of health. Nurse! Nurse!
2 weeks ago, we revealed how to convert a thirsty petrol engine 4x4 to run on LPG. The response was enormous. Many of you contacted us to ask for more information, attracted by the twin benefits of lower harmful emissions and fuel at around 40 pence a litre. We're now in the process of converting one of our own cars to run on LPG, and we'll be updating you at regular intervals through this series about our progress. At the end of the run, we'll have finished with the car, so we're going to give it away free in a competition. Check out our website for more details, while you also find plenty of information on LPG, plus some useful links. The hike in fuel prices has got many people thinking about economy, which is why this week we're looking at small diesels. It's especially relevant to our road tester, who drives for a living. Pam Barnable is a London-based driving instructor. She's looking for a new car that's easy to drive, comfortable and cheap to run. Pulling Power suggested two cars that seem to fit the bill: the Fiat Punto 1.9 JTD and the Evergreen VW Polo 1.9 TDI. Both have diesel engines. They cost around £10,000 and are in a lowish Group 6 insurance. 3-year warranties are standard and roadside assistance is also included.
The problem with the door on the Punto is that the accessibility to the back is not very good. You've got to really be kind of small person to get into the back easily. Then coming round to the petrol cap opener, you have to get a key to turn it and then open it. Therefore it's not quite so quick as some would be just to unscrew. The door pillar does have a problem here. Inside there's a seat belt fixing and also a window opener that does get in the way when you're actually reversing. And then here we come onto the boot. You can't get into the boot without the key, but the inside's great. Nice big space, lots of room for all the things you would want to put in there.
Well, a mixed verdict, but what about the Polo?
Let's come to the Polo's boot. A lovely handle, super opening action, very simple to get all your shopping in quickly. Look at the boot area, slightly less flat than the Punto, slightly raised there at the back. Maybe you couldn't get quite so much stuff in, but certainly the handle has it for me. The opening and closing is so simple. Coming to the side now, the door pillar far less clustered and much easier for reversing, which is so important in town driving nowadays. Then a nice small touch to detail. That handle is colour coordinated, very simple, nice lines, and also the wing mirror colour coordinated.
Time to put the Punto through its paces.
The main problem I found with it is that the brake and the accelerator pedals are very close together, and consequently one's foot tends to just drift from one to the other and cover the accelerator while braking, which could be potentially dangerous. I'm sure learners would do that. There is also a problem with 3 and 5 gears, because 3 and 5 are very close together, and the temptation is to go into 5 instead of into 3. The ride on the car is not as stable as I would like. If one takes it round bends and moves out to get a better line on a left-hand bend, it doesn't feel terribly stable. The interior, the actual dashboard, is quite boring. It's got nothing really innovative in it at all. It's purely functional. The seat's quite comfortable, there's no problem with that. I wish the steering wheel was a little more comfortable. It hasn't got any sort of finger holds on it.
Pam doesn't seem too impressed. Back to the Polo.
The Polo controls are very nice to drive, very light, very responsive. The gear lever is very positive, so you know exactly what gear you're in the whole time, therefore you won't be going into the wrong gear by mistake. The gas pedal is very soft, it doesn't actually jolt when you release it. The brake pedal is gentle, and the clutch too. The seating is very comfortable, there's very good lumbar support. The seat wraps round you quite well. I do enjoy driving this car, it's a lovely car. I really feel very at home in this car, although I've only driven it today. They've thought of all kinds of little details to make the car more comfortable and make the ride more positive.
So far so good, but what about long-term ownership? We asked our friendly Birmingham car dealer Ian Allen for a trade view on the two cars.
Small city cars are becoming ever popular, and these two should be high on your list. You certainly can't knock the economy from these diesel engines or their reliability. Our contenders both turn in around 60 miles per gallon. VW is renowned for its engineering and reliability, and because of the brand name, the Polo should hold its value very well. But the advantage that the Punto has is its city-friendly power steering, ideal if you're going to spend most of your time in the car. And if you're fashion conscious, it's quite trendy. But for the final verdict, it's over to you, Pam.
I must make a decision now. I've got the Fiat Punto, I've got the VW Polo. The lines of the Punto, very nice and sleek. The VW maybe is a bit more old-fashioned outside, but that isn't everything. The economy is identical for town driving, but the ride of the Polo is far better. The attention to detail, that handle on the boot, the accessibility. I must go for the Polo because it actually feels a more solid car, a more responsive car, and those details do matter.
It's November, so where else would I be but sunny Cornwall, of course. But it is very beautiful and it's very exciting, so I'm test driving a new car. Don't know what it is though. Lotus Elise, Aston Martin, ice cream van. Nice. Could I get 99 please? It'll just warm me up a little bit.
Not today, Gail, but you can have these.
Keys for?
Ice cream van.
Ice cream van. I'm test driving an ice cream van.
You are.
Okay. Not what I expected, but cool, cool.
OK, so it's no sports car, but I know how to handle one of these. I've driven plenty of white vans in my time, but not through the sea.
So, John, tell me what's so special about this van?
This van is the very latest in Whitby Morrison's range of vans for the 21st century. It's listening to customers' requirements, going for extra ease of cleaning, strength of build,
yeah,
easier serving areas, bringing to the fore the very latest in our developments.
But where do ice cream vans come from? Well, Crewe, of course. Whitby Morrison is the last bastion of large-scale ice cream van production in the UK. This labour-intensive family business scoops in raw materials one door and finished vans out the other.
This vehicle is going to the Virgin Islands. So this has got two special items that we don't normally see in a British vehicle. One is an hot dog unit, and the other one is a popcorn machine.
What is the top speed in an ice cream van, in this van?
Well, I would say sensibly, like 65 miles an hour, but I mean, you can do.
Could you imagine that?
Not the fun thing, really.
You're just chucking ice creams out the window.
So, catch me and buy one.
Yeah.
And how about this for an off-roader? This Mitsubishi conversion has to be the only 4x4 with Raspberry Ripple Go Faster stripes.
That is a work of art. Do you think the cameraman would like it? Would you like it? How did I know? Now, I've always wanted to pull an ice cream cone. Could you show me, first of all, how you pull a perfect ice cream cone, and then can I have a shot?
You need to get the ice cream to fall on the outside edge of the cone and then pull it down to get the point on the top.
That looks simple enough.
Turn the cone around and put the handle up.
Well, actually, I meant to do that.
And pull the ice cream down.
Look at that.
We've got a droop.
From one work of art to another. Can you remember being a kid and gazing up at masterpieces like these?
I was once asked to paint two new women on the back windows of a van. The guy picked it up and he was a bit frightened then because he told me he was stopping outside a convent school to sell his ice cream. So I had to scrape the paint off the windows and paint bras on them.
And if you're wondering what happens to old ice cream vans, they don't melt away, they simply go into cold storage. These relics from every street corner of Britain await Whitby Morrison's dream, the opening of a museum to the humble ice cream van. One day their jingles will sound again.
This is Gail Porter with the top 3 ice cream chimes for PP. And that's not pot pickers, it's pulling power. At number 3, it's Anchors Away. At number 2, it's Girls and Boys Come Out to Play. And at number 1 is Popeye. Cornwall. I came, I saw, and I pulled an ice cream.
After the break, we head to the south of France to drive the new fire-breathing 3-litre Clio. And we enter the amazing world of children's track days.
As the lady from Renault says, size matters, and the tail of the tape for this car, well, get a load of this. 3-litre V6 engine, 230 brake horsepower, 150 miles an hour, 0 to 60 in a shade over 7 seconds, 17-inch alloy wheels, £25,000, only 400 will ever be built. You get 2 seats, and from this point onwards, it's all engine. This is a Satan of a motor car. Loud, leery, little bit tacky, head turning. In short, a car to get noticed, and a car that really says to every other motorist out there, you're going to be attracting enough attention from the police just by the physical appearance of this car. They'll be desperate for an excuse to pull you over, if only to have a look at the car. So you're really asking to get nicked. Got the cop there? Despite the fact that it's got a lot of power on tap, and it's pretty intimidating to look at, I'm sure you'll agree. It's not too much of a handful when you're pottering around. I think it could catch you out if you're not very careful, but I think it's the sort of car that really you could almost live with as a day-to-day hatchback. It's an awful lot of fun to drive, and of course the slower you go, the more chance you've got of people catching you behind the wheel of it. I mean, this is a car that you buy to be noticed in. Forget it, mate. You'll never get them all in there. In any case, it may look good, but it does have its faults. Take the interior, for example, which is pretty uninspiring. Doesn't seem to know whether it's an ordinary hatch or a sporty one. And that's the problem with the Clio V6. It's a sub-25 grand sports car based on a sub-£10,000 hatchback. It's bound to make for some uncomfortable compromises. Even here in the south of France, not an area noted for its speed humps, we've encountered a few, and we've scraped the bottom of the car a dozen times today already. On very, very tight bends, the lock is absolutely appalling. In fact, I've done more 3-point turns today than I've done, I think, for the last 5 years. You can get into some very tricky situations. In order to appreciate the car a bit more, and in order to enjoy it that little bit more, and in order to improve your prospects of staying alive, please, please, please ensure that you go on some kind of high-performance driving course before you climb into a car like this. And then you can avoid idiots like that, who's reversing on a bend. Or whether you're a motorsport nut who's looking for a race car for the road, or you're one of those wealthy people who can afford an Audi TT or Porsche Boxster, you just must put this, the Renault Clio V6, on your shopping list. But do be careful.
I'm Carl Fogarty. I'm Carl Fogarty. I'm Carl Fogarty.
I'm Carol Fogarty. I am Carl Fogarty.
All these youngsters have one thing in common. They all want to be #1, which is why they've come in torrential rain to Darley Moor in the heart of Derbyshire to turn that dream into reality.
Motorcycle racing for teenagers has really taken off. 15-year-old Leon Haslam made history riding a 125 in the British Grand Prix. And last year, Simon Andrews rode in the 600cc Supersport class at just 16. But as more and more youngsters take up the sport, there's been growing concerns over safety. In an attempt to raise standards, Mick Boris has set up the first race school in the country, especially for kids.
It's not a very nice day out there, but it's certainly no one here seems to be bothered. There are 5 of them, and they've all actually ridden bikes before. But this is an opportunity to really learn some skills, and of course the first thing they have to do is start in the classroom and familiarise themselves with the circuit.
After the theory, everyone has to pass a basic competence test. It's down to the barrel and back. 13-year-old Stevie has a nervous start. Cold engines on a cold day make it tough. His mates think it's hilarious. But he's an old hand. He's been racing since the age of 11, and like everyone else, he passes. Next, they get to grips with braking, and 12-year-old Tom shows us how it should be done. 60 to 0 in under 4 seconds. Then it's onto the cones and it's slalom time. Although all the kids make it look easy, don't be fooled into thinking these bikes are toys.
This is an Aprilia RS125, which can produce 33 brake horsepower. Now, with a lightweight teenager on top, it can reach speeds in excess of 100 miles an hour. A frightening thought for any parent.
Or so you'd think.
The way I look at it is there's danger all over the place. I've played rugby all my life since schoolboy, and I've seen more injuries playing rugby than I have in any motorcycle sport.
The only time they hurt themselves is if they make contact with another bike. They really do slide into the gravel and stop. It's as safe as any sport could be.
After a short break, it's onto the track. The youngsters are now split into 2 groups. They follow their instructor to learn the quickest lines. And it's not long before the pace is hotting up.
You learn all the skills that you need for riding a bike, such as braking, counter-steer and other skills. It's brilliant.
You learn a lot off of it, and if you're going to do racing, you know the stuff to do and braking and everything really. It's excellent.
So the kids are having a ball, but what's it like for Mum and Dad?
Used to be a question of just seeing them go around safely, and now you're almost willing them on just to go a bit faster, which is probably dreadful, but that's the fact.
Well, it's been an utterly miserable day. It hasn't stopped raining since 8 o'clock this morning, but they seem to have had the most marvellous time. They've already learned so much. They've learned how to ride faster, to brake deeper and corner harder, but most importantly of all, they've learned how to be safer riders, and who knows, one day they may be world champions.
That's it for this show, but next week, how to buy a Mercedes S-Class for $2.5 grand, and our pick of the best Christmas toys for car-mad kids.
And Pulling Power is back tomorrow night at 10:30.
Pulling Power with IXM.co.uk, where cars go faster.